Hey everybody, welcome back to Planet Lizzdom. I'm your host Lizzdom, and I am so happy to see each and every single one of you tonight. I gotta say, each week we gather, we discuss what it means to be an artist, a creator, an entrepreneur, and an entertainer in these strange times, and Planet Lizzdom is the place to be for that. Not only are we overcoming so much adversity right now, but we're actually adapting and in fact thriving. Isn't that wild? That's crazy to me. I gotta say, it brings me so much joy to connect with each and every single one of you every week. I'm so hyper right now, and I've been up since 6 this morning. What's that about? But what I love seeing is that you guys are actually starting to tune in, turn on, and take part. I see you in the comment section already, and I am so stoked about that. I don't even know what you've said yet. I can't wait to make it such a surprise. Before we even begin, I want to extend a very, very big shout out to my new friend Kim, who I met on Saturday. She tunes in every week, and she said some really kind and incredibly encouraging things to me. And Kim, I want to thank you so much for that. That really made my day, and it means so much to me that you would take time out of your week every week to join us. So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in the comments tonight. I also want to make a very big shout out to my new friends in Tacoma, Washington on the West Coast. I saw you share this event earlier this afternoon, and I'm so happy to see you here. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you guys in the comments as well. Coast to coast, country to country, Planet Lizzdom is growing, and this show is amazing because of you guys. Now this week, I'm so excited to bring you our guest. We get to talk to someone, who is a very good friend of mine that I've known for a long time. I'm excited to talk all things horror, music. He's the bassist in the band The Blackouts. I'm wearing their shirt tonight. It says, "I get drunk and I eat Taco Bell." Hopefully that will be me tonight as well. And, he's also a Toronto-based DJ and just a fantastic artist all around. Not only is he fantastic, but this person, he, how can I put it? Tails aren't the only thing that this master wordsmith spins. Let's put it that way. Guys, I want you to give a very, very warm welcome to the amazing and the awesome Andrew Robertson. Andrew, welcome to Planet Lizzdom. How are you?
Thank you so much, Liz. I am doing great, and I'm really happy to be here. I've seen a bunch of the shows and listened to some of your guests, and I just love the way that you bring together all different types of people from different artistic endeavors and different creative interests, and you've created this platform for people to talk about burlesque and film and writing and just general weirdness and making clothes and stickers and fossils. I mean, come on, you've got everything going on here.
And now tonight I have you, an amazing horror writer. I'm so excited to speak about all the the groundbreaking things that you're doing. I mean, I don't know if you realize, but I'm kind of a fan.
Well, thank you so much. And it seems like you've got a lot of fans. So hello, Rebecca. Hello, Julianne. Hello, Monica. Hello.
Actually, you know what? We all have a lot of fans.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? We do.
Oh, it's a fan off. Okay. Somebody please screenshot that. That was amazing. Now, I have to say, I am so grateful that earlier this week you made this wonderful, wonderful poster about all the things that you're doing. And I actually made notes about it so that we can keep it in order because you are up to many great things. Starting with this September 25th, I want to talk about your Facebook launch with Unbreakable Ink Anthology featuring the Hamburger Lady, Indomitable Ink Book Lovers page, and a couple of other things going on that day.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple of years ago, I met this fabulous woman named Shabbat Legion, who has had a very public battle with breast cancer and became a breast cancer screening advocate. And I think it really fueled her to support artists and art and push out a lot of great things, including this incredible anthology that she put together, which is actually an art book called Clarissa Dreams. And it's full of incredible paintings by her mother, who is right there. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. And so she put that together, and a couple of years later, she connected with Indomitable Inc., which is a publishing company that is really into diverse voices and supporting diverse communities. And so there's about 29 authors in this one. It's a speculative fiction anthology, so it runs the gamut from sort of dark fantasy to verging on science fiction. There's horror in there. It's the furthest reaches of space. It traverses time, the darkest part of the mind. And my story in there is Hamburger Lady, which was inspired by the song by Throbbing Gristle. So if any of you know that song, it's disturbing. And so that's what kind of set the tone for me on that one. And I love working with Shabbat because she's so driven. She really, really supports artists. She's an incredible editor. And Carmen, who runs Indomitable Inc., is also incredibly supportive. So we're looking forward to this Saturday. There's going to be a Facebook launch party on the Indomitable Inc. Book Lovers page. It runs all day long. I'll be coming on around 5 o'clock and doing a bit of giveaways and interaction with people. So really looking forward to that. And although the book launches officially on Saturday, the Kindle edition is up right now. And if you're so inclined, you can find it on mybook.to/Unbreakable Inc. And I'll share a couple of links that I talk about on my Facebook page, Andrew Robertson, after the show. So we're really looking forward to that happening on Saturday.
Amazing. And for some reason, my caps lock won't go away. So definitely we will put that up. We'll put it up tomorrow. Remind me one more time. Is my.to.
It is mybook.to.
mybook.to/U
Unbreakable I Inc.
Because I think it's important for everybody to see this so that they know exactly where to go. And definitely we will put up all of these links for you guys to head on over to afterwards, because I think this is an incredibly worthy and thing of supporting.
It's exciting to be a part of these sort of group projects where everyone sort of shares in the success. And I think that it's a business model that a lot of publishers are using, because publishing took a real kick in the ass when companies like Amazon came on board. And the worst part about companies like Amazon is there's a lot of things that we rely on, especially in a pandemic, where we need to get things delivered to us, and maybe where we lived, we couldn't get them where we were. So it becomes a necessary evil. But when you have small publishing companies like this, I just love seeing people reach out and supporting them, and the arts community coming together to support each other, which I think is a lot of what you do on your show.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that, because I am a very big believer that we all rise together, teamwork makes the dream work. I say that every single day because it's so true. And when we get together and we support each other as artists and promote each other, it's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Every single time, and I'm a very big believer that's, like attracts like, and yes, your hair looks amazing. And then there's a lot of yays, and I love the support that you consistently get from your community, because, something that a lot of people may not realize is that, you have been creating and writing for a very, very long time. You've been honing your craft for, since you were in diapers.
Yeah, it has been a long time. And I kind of walked away from fiction writing in my late teens, because I won this writing contest and then ended up as film editor for a magazine. And that set me in the direction of journalism as opposed to creative writing. And it was something that at the time I thought, it was kind of more as immediate as magazine writing can be. You write in a magazine, the next month it comes out and you've got it in your hands and you're like, oh, this is great. I've written this column, I've done this interview. I got to interview some incredible people like Christopher Guest from Spinal Tap. That was actually a weird interview.
Oh, wow.
Steve Zahn from White Lotus. I interviewed him way back when he was in a movie called Suburbia, long time ago. And it just took off from there. I got to interview Robin in person, which was amazing. Olivia Newton-John. There's a lot of great interviews I got to do. And I love telling other people's stories. But there became a point that I thought, I'm not telling my own story. And not like my own story as a person and what I do, like what we're doing right now, but the stories that were in my head. So I I had the luck of actually running into a woman that I'd seen online that I knew was the president of the Horror Writers Association Ontario chapter. And I ran into her at a 10-in-1 Coney Island show at Comedy Bar in Toronto that Mysterion was performing at. And I went up to her because she was in the audience. And I said, "Are you Sephra Giron? Are you the president of the Horror Writers Association in Ontario, the Ontario chapter?" And we hit it off. And I joined the HWA. And I started telling my own stories again because I had bits and pieces here and there, and that resulted in a couple of anthologies. And her support and her incredible sort of passion for life in the face of whatever comes at you was really a driver for me. And over the years since I've met her, as much as I can write, having a full-time job and our other responsibilities in life, I've had a lot of success, and it's because of people like that.
Yeah.
You meet someone supportive and they're in your corner, and it's something you want to feel good about.
Absolutely. And I think, something that's a commonality that I've come across is that, the like-minded work ethic is such that, every single artist that I have had the luxury of interviewing and knowing, we all have the same sort of work ethic. We're always working. We're always putting things in the background, working on this, working on that, and then bringing them to the forefront when they're relevant and when it can benefit and help someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did spend, like, as I said, a large part of my career telling other people's stories. And I thought that was really important because, being an editor of a magazine or working for different magazines in different capacities, you meet these people that you want to big up. Thank you, Sephra. And thank you for logging in and watching live tonight. It's such an incredible gift to be able to support someone in their creative journey. Hi, Jim. And it's not something I take for granted because I always say, everyone you meet in your life becomes a part of your journey. And it's, don't burn those bridges. Keep in contact with everyone because you never know when you can support each other. It's a small world.
It really is. And, I talk about this every day, but it is so true. And it's a truth that I'm living with such joy. Process is ripe with revelation. And, without that process, there are so many beautiful happenings in our lives creatively that we would never stumble across unless we just started doing the thing.
Yeah. I felt a lot of that energy came from the Gladstone Hotel when Christina Zeidler took it over, and people like Caleb Robertson and Shane McKinnon, Shane and May that started Hump Day Bump, and a lot of the artists that were there. Rochelle Forsey, I worked on some installations with her, and Kimberly Gondrella. We did a room together based on Model Worker, her fashion line. And, even though you may work in one sort of artistic pursuit like writing, that doesn't mean you can't write the story for a great installation. There's a lot of different ways to get your art across. And Toronto, I think at this point where we're at now, I'm based in Toronto. Hi, Rochelle. I think Toronto is going to be on a big upswing of art because after every huge crisis in history or pandemic, especially with how people are so pitted against each other right now, everything exists in binaries, which isn't necessary.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a huge art movement that comes out of this, and I'm excited to see what it is.
I have to agree. That's something that I have observed in my short time here in Toronto, 20 plus years. But I have noticed that every time we're in this situation, we all roll up our sleeves and band together and say, you know what? No, I'm not going to stop. In fact, I'm going to make something even better than I ever would have beforehand. I'll show you. It's almost a spiteful attitude. But there's such a camaraderie right now amongst artists and creators, and I'm very grateful for that. It's nice to have purpose again.
And one thing that I will say about that is that when it comes to a crisis, whether it's a landslide in the Philippines, whether it's a pandemic like we're in right now, whether it's children living with HIV and AIDS, people go to the arts community first to find people to perform, to raise money, and to create that momentum to create the funds and the support to help people get out of that situation they're in. Years ago, Supermarket in Kensington Market gave us space for Estero to do the Capua Philippines landslide benefit, and people turned out for that, and artists showed up and performed for free. Egos aside, no one was worried about getting paid or whatever. They paid their own way to get there. You and I have worked on fundraisers together. People donate art, they donate their writing. And this book right here, this collection, it's the Bethlehem Collection. I know it's okay, there we go. So Grinning Skull Press, every year they put out a book in the Bethlehem series. This is O Unholy Night in Bethlehem. And all of the proceeds from this book series go to the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation to help support children. And it's an incredible amount of work that they put in every single year to put these out. I think there's about 6 or 7 of them right now, but it's just a great example of how the arts community, people who already don't make a lot of money for the most part, will be the first to put their hands up. And I just hope that people outside of that community realize that that there's a real importance to putting your hand up and supporting artists every day, not pirating their music, not downloading their songs, not stealing their books from the internet. It seems like a really small crime, but when artists are spending their time to put things like this together, to donate their art, their painting, their voices, their music to all these causes, don't steal it from them, because they might be doing a lot more than you are to help other people in need. I'm like on a soapbox today. Look, my neck's all red. I'm burning up. My pussy's on fire.
But you're speaking the truth, though. It's people. I won't say people. Some people very often forget that it takes a lifetime of daily commitment to your craft to create the thing that you are purchasing. And when you don't pay for it, you're, in a sense, being disrespectful of that process. You're being disrespectful of, that person's time. We don't go to a lawyer and photocopy their contracts and do their job. They trained their entire lives and gave their entire lives to their craft, and we pay them accordingly. Why that's not the same for the arts is very beguiling to me. And it's because I'm an artist and I'm a creator, and I spent my entire life perfecting my craft, and it's maddening. Just a very quick aside, there's an art friend of mine who keeps having his work stolen, and I see it every day on Facebook, and it makes me so angry because he's constantly having to track down these people now who are basically stealing from him and misrepresenting his work. And it's I feel so bad for the people that think that they're legitimately buying something from the artist, and they're not. And it makes me so damn mad, because it's so immoral. It's wrong. It just makes me mad. So I will get on that soapbox with you, because that is just not cool.
Totally agreed. And then people say stuff like, how come you haven't released a new album? Where's your new book? Are you having a new show? Guess what? Artists need to make money to do that, and it costs thousands of dollars to do some of this. Paint costs money. Canvases cost money. Production time, studio time costs money. Recently, Julia Gorton and Lydia Lunch, one of my absolute favorites. I may have tattoos of this individual. I find her incredibly inspirational, and she's been an independent artist for most of her existence. She still is. She's still thriving in her 60s after battling cancer about 4 different times, after having to search for publishers for her last book. There's an introduction by Anthony Bourdain. It was rejected by something like 14 publishers before she landed on one. And we're talking about someone that every time you talk about the New York no-wave scene and underground writing and publishing and comics, her name comes up. You've got to support people like this if you want to keep seeing them out there, like these support needs to come from the fan base and not just be sort of assumed. I see some comments about, support local. Art is critical. I mean, a city without art, a culture without art, I don't know what that's supposed to look like.
And yes, Dawn is right. Support is subversive. And there was a quote that I read a while ago, and for the life of me, I can't find it. But the long and short of it is, the lack of suffering is ruining the great degree of art that we are experiencing. You know, when we're too comfortable, the art becomes crap. You know, because that's how we use our voice. That's how we express ourselves. That's how we push the envelope. And that is something that I love about your writing, because you're always pushing the envelope. You're always using your writing as a, what do you call it, an impetus to push other things, you know, not just people, but ideas and movements. You know, you have a lot going on. You know, I know we were talking earlier about Megan's House of Book Halloween extravaganza that's happening online. I want to discuss that. That's so important.
I love Megan Hayden, and I'll tell you why. Because Megan, for years, she's been a book blogger for years. You know, she every year around Halloween does a series of, hi Sheila, does a series of interviews with both indie and traditionally published authors. And it was in October. This year it's stretched to September, October. And this is something she does for free. This is something she does, you know, purportedly for fun. And I say that because, you know, Megan grew up around books. Her family was very reading oriented. On holidays, the gifts were, you know, 1 or 2 books that was expected. And it's so great to meet a reader that's so interested in supporting the authors. But the one thing that I don't like, and it's become an epidemic in sort of the book blogger community, is authors having no manners and being angry at book bloggers for not responding to their request for a review in time, not reading it in the amount of time that they think should be done, disagreeing with reviewers' commentary on their books, or just in general, when a blogger goes to them and says, you know, I'd love to interview you, here are the questions, here's the deadline, and that person's sort of just expecting that the book bloggers are going to bend to their will. And I'm not saying that that's everything that Megan experienced, but I definitely feel like there's a lot of that in there. And to do an entire 2 months of interviews with authors, putting them out every day, putting out trivia every day, driving people to that website. I mean, come on. It's Megan's House of Books. You can see her at mhyden.blog, mhyden.blog. She who leaves a trail of glitter is never forgotten. And I just want to give mad props to Megan for the fact that she's put up with all the abuse that her and other book bloggers receive from authors that seem to think that they're better than even the indie system of marketing themselves. And the fact that she's come back and kept supporting authors, because by the time the Halloween extravaganza is done, she'll probably have published something like, I'm just guessing, 60 interviews.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it goes from everyone from self-published newbies right up to well-known, like, fan favorites. And I think that's really admirable, because a lot of us will start a blog or a project and kind of post a few times, but to do it like almost every single day and to keep engaging people, that's a really high level of engagement to keep. And I think as well, you know, with some of the book bloggers, you know, if they post about their, you know, political views or their cultural views, etc., and, you know, people attack them, it starts to fall into that whole territory I was talking about, where everyone wants everything to be binary right now. You agree with me or you don't, etc. We need to have room in there for people to be able to enjoy each other's art and not necessarily believe in the same political or cultural systems, or, you know, maybe, that's essentially what I want to say about that. Because I think there's a lot of room for all of us to learn from each other. But right now it's just a shouting match where everything becomes really aggressive really quickly. And I have seen so many book bloggers on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook talk about the level of abuse that they take from these authors. And I think, like, honestly, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, you're relying on a book blogger to give you a review. Do you think that level of aggression is really going to get you where you want to go? I mean, if you disagree with someone, have a conversation with them. It doesn't need to be in public. It doesn't need to be on the internet, because in the end, posting something on the internet, first of all, it's forever, and we all accept that right now. Yeah. And, you know, there are consequences for your action, but, you know, and not to dwell too far on the negative, what Megan's House of Books is doing is absolutely incredible. Yes, Liz does look awesome, Sean. You're absolutely right.
Thank you, Sean.
I really think that she's doing a great service, especially to indie authors like myself who publish with small publishers or self-publish. And I'd like people to really check themselves. You know, you're not more important than the person next to you. It doesn't matter what you think. You know, be happy that there's people out there that focus on people like us and people like you who give people like me a platform.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I think, you know, the art of conversation has been lost. It really has, because you're right. There's an absolutism. I don't even know if that is a word, but it is so absolute. Either I'm right or you're wrong, you know, and it doesn't have to be that way, you know, like, and that's something I would love to explore, you know. Guys, go to Megan's blog, mhyden.blog. If I have that wrong, Andrew, please, you know, let me know and I'll fix it.
But that's totally right.
Okay.
And actually, sorry, I should say the reason that I wanted to talk about her is because I'm going to be featured on the Halloween extravaganza this Saturday as a part of the Unbreakable Inc. book launch. The interview comes out the same day as the book launch. If you go and you check out Megan's blog and you share it, I will look at everyone that shares the link to that interview. I'll put you all in a random draw and I'll send you a book.
That sounds like a wonderful idea. Here, I'm just going to remind everybody, share, do it.
Share.
Well, I do want to talk more about that, but after these messages, so we'll be back in about 30 seconds.
Step right up, boils, ghouls, and nondescripts, and start your Halloween month off at Something Strange, Canada's largest sideshow extravaganza, October 10th at the Revival Nightclub. For the price of just one ticket, you will see pain-proof freaks, human marvels, animal oddities, and so much more. Featuring acts as seen on America's Got Talent, Penn and Teller's Fool Us, Discovery Channel, NBC, all over the media. Hosted by Planet Lizzdom and myself, Mysterion. October 10th at Revival. Get your
Hey everyone, Planet Lizzdom now has a Patreon. Your help will allow Liz to make the show even bigger, cover costs, and help bring on celebrity guests. Go to patreon.com/Planet Lizzdom and pledge now.
I'm an idiot and I hit that button way too soon. Guys, please go to eventbrite.com for your tickets for Something Strange. I need to fire my production team. They're really they're not doing their job lately. Something Strange is on October 10th. You know, now that things are opening up a little bit, I want to make sure that you guys know about it. Back to you.
No, it's going to be a really exciting show. I love anything freaky deaky like that.
Absolutely, you know, and we're going to have vendors there, and that's something I wanted to kind of move towards because you are going to be at the that Frightmare in the Falls in October, and I'm really excited about that. I want to come visit and you know, come out and support you, and I want everybody to know that Frightmare in the Falls is going to be a really exciting convention. It happens October 29th and October 30th. And please remind me, you're going to be doing the table with the Great Lakes Horror Company?
Yeah, so I'm going to be there with Sapphire Giron, and we're doing the Great Lakes Horror Company booth. And Great Lakes Horror Company is actually a publishing company that we started together as a part of HWA Ontario. It's not affiliated directly with the Horror Writers Association, but it's the people involved in Ontario. And so we did create a couple of anthologies as a part of the Great Lakes Horror Company.
Oh, yes. Like this?
This one. Oh, yes. But I believe volume 1, I'm doing this backwards.
There we go.
I believe there's illustrations by Planet Lizzdom in volume 1, which is pretty hot.
That's pretty cool. Yes. Actually, I was so impressed with what you did. I mean, the anthologies are so well put together, and I have to say that that each story is so well placed next to each one, and the illustrations work so well as well.
It was a real learning experience to sort of collect things together and act as editor when it wasn't something that I'd necessarily done before, but I was surrounded by so many. Rochelle got her tickets for Frightmare in the Falls. See you there.
All right, I gotta get mine. I gotta get on that.
It was a real learning experience. And because I was a new writer and I didn't have a lot of content, but I was surrounded by all of these, hi, Sarah Ballantyne. Boop, boop. Hello, magnificent cover.
Oh, yes. Hello. I can't keep up the comments. It's great.
It was a real amazing growth experience to be surrounded by all these people that were full-time working writers. Like Canada's vampire queen Nancy Kilpatrick is a part of the group. Kelly Armstrong, who a lot of people will know from the series Bitten and all of her books. I mean, if you go into a bookstore, she's got the same volume as Stephen King on the shelves. She's so prolific. So it was super inspiring to put those together. And then we expanded Great Lakes Horror Company to be a podcast for a couple of years. That's a lot of work, I will tell everyone. So what Liz is doing, I know, is a tremendous amount of work to source guests, come up with themes, do the questions, get everything together, and actually make it happen. Tons of work. So we did that for a bit. Then we halted that. And so this time, Great Lakes Horror Company, it's actually going to be the Great Lakes Horror Company General Store. And there'll be tarot, there'll be new books, there'll be an international guest at the table. We will have a little creepy garage sale, and then we'll also have a used book section, and then we'll also have a free book section that's mainly YA and kids books, because I think between Sephra and I, what we really want is we want people to read and make that accessible to them. So we'll try and make everything as affordable as possible and just have like a smattering of beautiful horror books, thrillers, sci-fi, YA, etc. And I will say right now, I checked the site today. So that's October 29th and 30th. The 29th is from 5 to 9 p.m. And then the 30th is 10 to 6 p.m. There's going to be a lot of guests like Michael Berryman from The Hills Have Eyes. There'll be Lou Ferrigno, the original Incredible Hulk that all of us around a certain age know from television and syndication. Linnea Quigley, the legend, will be there, repping Return of the Living Dead. And so right now, Friday's tickets pre-sale are 79% sold out. Saturdays are 84% sold out. The 2-day deluxe are 88% sold out. And VIP tickets are 91% sold out. So if you're thinking about going, go to frightmareandthefalls.com, pick up your tickets. I'm thrilled to be going back to a horror convention after so long. And honestly, Frightmare and the Falls, it's co-presented with Rue Morgue, which anyone involved in horror will know. It's an exceptional magazine that also does these great sort of like pop culture horror, dark books. It's really worth checking out, and it's one of the best cons that I have ever been to. I see it in the comments.
Get your tickets. Yes.
Come see us. Even just for high fives. We'll just take high fives. We'll sanitize and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 alive. Hit me.
I'm a big fan of the creepy bows. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah. We call that the porno high five. I used to work writing a series with Leanna Barwick, who may be watching tonight. I think she is. And it was called The Space Amazones, 5 Girls, 1 Mission, Fuck the Universe. And so me and this fabulous lesbian would write this sort of heterosexual pornography.
Okay.
And that was fun.
Well, speaking of, sexual writing, there's a really great anthology that you had put together that I have, and love reading. Dark Window, queer erotic horror. I want to talk a little bit about this for a quick second because I like to be titillated. And, sometimes the nights get a little lonely.
Well, if you've got a tit, you want it to be laid at. So why leave it out? A lot of people have 2. So there's 2 options for fun.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Actually, you have obviously you have some writing in here. Kimberly Gondrella does. There's quite a few wonderful authors in here. Will folks be able to get this book at your table?
I actually don't have any copies of Dark Rainbow right now. I looked around. It's a funny thing. Like I'm not in all that many books, but I find speaking to a lot of other authors, you go, you do conventions, you sell some books, and then another one comes around and you realize, wow, I don't have any backstock. So I might have some others for that. It was really popular at the last Frightmare because there was a big queer contingent. So if you're going to put on your Elvira Mask, I'm going to put on mine.
I felt the shock of it all. You know, you can see that I'm shocked. Like,
So
more than I put there.
you know, and if you put these two masks together, you end up with this like somewhat horrifying, gorgeous
Oh.
Elvira face.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember those books that you could flip and make different faces?
Yes, but one of my favorite things is the mad fold-ins that I believe I've seen one in a zine called Crap Nation, which is legendary. Everyone loves a fold-in, but to finish on Dark Rainbow, that was fun to do. It was really interesting, and I find that queer people in horror, there's a lot of intersectionality there, because as queer people, you know, we grow up with people believing certain things about us. And in general, the type of characters that queer people see that most represent themselves are sort of telegraphed as the villains, sort of like Scar in The Lion King.
Okay.
like how all there's this famous academic essay about how all of the villains in Disney are essentially drag queens. And if you think about it, they really are. And I find that a lot of queer culture gets co-opted to make people uncomfortable. Like when, like you don't need to look far in horror films to find characters that read as queer that are intended to make people uncomfortable, and it's part of the thrill. But I was reading David Demchuk's book, Red X, this week. Okay. And he does a really great job in it. It's sort of a mix of a horror novel and also an autobiographical series of like essays that are interspersed throughout the book. And he does this really wonderful job of explaining how queers and horror are sort of really intimately married. And in putting together Dark Rainbow, I also kind of looked at Michael Rowe had a series as well. That was really celebrated, and there's mixed reactions to all of these books for sure. And if you look at the reviews for Dark Rainbow, they're really like right up there or way down there, and I don't mind that. What I wanted was just to present the opportunity. I worked with Riverdale Avenue Books on this, and they do horror and erotic and some other genre work. They gave me the opportunity to put it together, and I got to meet a lot of great authors and publish some really great queer work. It may not have knocked it out of the park, but I think that as queer people in a world that becomes ever more fluid in terms of sexuality, Bevan, the bad guys are the hottest.
It's true.
We want to see more representation. And I don't feel compelled as a queer person to make the queer character the hero.
Okay.
Which is actually where in December I have a story coming out in Lichen Valley Press's Pink Triangle Rhapsody, and that's edited by Andrew Wolter. And in that story, there's very little to do with heroes. Sick as a New Black is a critique of how social media and the desperate need for fame and likes and basing all the value that you have as a person in how responsive people are to your online self. It looks at what happens when that capsizes. So what I'll say about the story is anyone can be fashionable, but it takes real balls to be sickening.
Oh!
So that comes out on December 28th, and it's Club Kids, it's disease.
Oh.
It's a critique of fame and social media, because I honestly think that social media has been incredibly destructive.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And we've got a generation that's growing up within social media.
Yeah.
And we have generations that are alive right now that I didn't have an email address until I was 20. I didn't have internet access until I was in my 20s. And I had to go to the university library to do it. And I'm not making excuses for like, oh, well, I don't understand how it works. I totally get how it works. I've made my mistakes online. I've said shitty things online. I recognize that. We all have. And you have a choice to now publicly learn from that and broadcast what you've learned, or you have the option of just being a troll.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it's way too easy to be a troll because you're behind a keyboard. You are not face to face with the people that you are trolling, and you're not accountable.
Yeah, and I think even like if you weren't intentionally trolling someone, if you just say something that's shitty and transphobic or homophobic or racist, we've literally all done it. And I definitely have had my own experiences online where I've shared what I thought was, a feeling that, okay, I disagree with this. And you have a choice to be educated and to be open to other people's opinions and to really think about what it is that you said, or you have a choice to double down. And I'm not saying that, if you're diehard in your beliefs and you think, oh, I'm totally committed to this, go ahead and be committed to it. Just be honest about it. And if you said something and you think, after reading some reactions, you think, wow, I need to educate myself. I need to learn more about this. And I need to consider things like intersectionality, people with, lower income, lower resource, different communities, different cultural experiences. I may be a part of the queer community, but that doesn't mean that I can't be homophobic or transphobic, because we know that people in the queer community can really do that and can stigmatize and marginalize other people. And, in putting together a Dark Rainbow, I think if I had to do it again, I would probably wait longer to get more diverse voices in there. And I didn't. There's an exceptional trans story in there that's probably one of the best things that I've ever written. Read, sorry, because it was written by Lindsay King Miller, and it's called Think of Me. And it's one of the most heartbreaking stories. I mean, there's horror in it. There's other elements in it. There's romance. There's just what happens to us as people when mental health and relationships come into play. And, you can't always have a redo, but I'll just say publicly right now, looking forward, I would love to represent, to give more people the opportunity to represent their communities, because I think that there's not enough dialogue from people that are in affected communities. I feel like a lot of people speak for other communities, and they shouldn't. We need to listen more. Like people like me, especially as a white man, that, I've got a good job. I'm happy where I'm at. I need to shut up and listen a lot more.
Yeah, and I agree for myself as well. Listening is one of the hardest, most beneficial skills you could ever learn. And very often, I will come across a conversation where all of a sudden the person I'm speaking to gets a little bit unnerved and, disconcerted. And they're saying, you're not saying anything. I'm like, because I'm listening. And it's a very refreshing way to have an exchange of ideas, Yeah,
and don't feel attacked about everything.
Yeah.
I worked in politics in Ontario for 7 years. And one thing about being in the queer community that I found, and I'll just say this outright, was I wasn't working for the NDP, and I lost friends, kind of for that fact. And for me, it was a growth experience. Let's go work in politics for the Liberals. I've always been kind of a pinko, but a lot of people that disagreed with me working with them never asked me what my political views were. It was just kind of this snap judgment that we see with the internet age. People assume things right away. And I thought, can we work to change things from the inside? Is there room to do that? And, one experience that I will say is that all political parties in the same, in the same breath, kind of treat their staff the same way. It's not really all that great. And a lot of them have the same goals in the end, which is election. So let's not assume that these political parties have our best interests at heart. It's not, that's not always the way it's going to be. But don't let that be a barrier to you approaching different political parties looking for change. And just be open to other people's voices without feeling like they're talking about you. And if you feel that they're talking about you, crack open a book by someone who doesn't look like you and start reading and start walking with them.
Wow. Like that is an incredibly powerful recommendation.
Well, I think especially with our Indigenous communities in Canada, we need to walk with them and let them lead. Because if anyone's got the environment in mind, if we look at the 7 sacred teachings, if we look at what we need for the future, it's not a political party saying we need another pipeline. We don't need more oil and gas. That's a finite resource. Something that's not a finite resource is humanity and optimism and hope. And I would hate to see that crushed for selfish reasons. And politics in the end is a cultural construct. It's a colonial construct. And
I would hope on Truth and Reconciliation Day this year that we all kind of take a moment to think about what is truly important and walk in someone else's shoes. Absolutely.
Yeah. September 30th, if your work didn't give you the day off, at least maybe look up a book, something by Sherry Dimaline, Wabashag Rice. Look up, 21 things you didn't know about the Indian Act. There's so many resources out there where we can educate ourselves, and so many writers telling stories. The Marrow Thieves, excellent book, especially looking at life in a pandemic.
Absolutely. And life in a pandemic right now, I was thinking about this earlier today. It looks so differently today than it did 18 months ago. And I always talk about BC, DC, AC, before COVID, during COVID, after COVID, ACDC, that's kind of where we're going. You have a couple of things happening in the year 2022 and 2023 that I wanted to hit on very briefly because, well, not briefly, but I do want to talk about them because they are important and very exciting.
It's crazy. So I have 2 stories in 2 anthologies that are going to the moon, which for someone who watched like Star Trek, the motion picture when I was like 7 years old and was like, oh my God, space and the opportunity and warp speed and everything, if the moon's as far as I get, that's something. So in 2022, the book that I showed you, Clarissa Dreams, that Shabbat Legion edited, the coffee table book with a lot of her mom's paintings in it, that's going to be headed to Lacus Mortis with the Peregrine Collection as a part of the ULA Astrobotic Peregrine launch. And then in 2023, Hamburger Lady from Unbreakable Ink will be headed to the Lunar South Pole, which sounds really cool to me, with the Polaris expedition as a part of the Polaris Collection. It's an expedition to get there, period, as a part of the SpaceX NASA Viper Astrobotic Griffin launch. And this was all made possible by an individual called Samuel Peralta. He's a physicist and business leader who for 30 years has spent his career in the energy and high-tech industries. And he's also a best-selling author. So he funded everything related to this. And the incredible thing about it is he's creating one of the largest collections of artwork on the first commercial flight to the moon in history. And we get to be a part of that. So I think it is amazing, Bev, and I can't believe it. And I almost have no idea that I'm a part of it. And both anthologies, Shabbat Legion edited, and they're headed off to the moon in 22 and 23. So it's just an unbelievable opportunity. There's also work going up by people like Andy Warhol. There's art going up there. There's some artwork created by artificial intelligence. So it's just wild. And I think they're looking at people landing on the moon in the next decade. And I kind of like the idea that if they need a library or something to look at, there's some payloads up there that Samuel Peralta has provided them.
That is so far out. Like that is one of, how can I put it? The fact that you're going to have your written art up on the moon, that is a beautiful feather in the cap. I can't even, I have actually no words to express how wonderful that is. I think that's so exciting.
It's super surreal. Like I live in a high rise in Toronto, and so I can look out and see the moon and the skyline and the moon reflecting off of Lake Ontario, which is beautiful. And then I think, wow, in like 2 years, something that I wrote is going to be sitting up there. And it's kind of one of those things, like if you've never actually seen it, you don't believe that it happened, but you kind of know.
It's so cool.
You know there's a monster under the bed and you don't want to look because you don't want to confirm it. You just want to believe they're there. There's a comfort in the terror, I guess.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of monsters, in our last 2 minutes, I wanted to talk very briefly about something that I want to expand on for another show, but I think everybody should know that you have also written an amazing children's book that's garnering so much acclaim. The Mythical Series.
Yes. This is something that I had the pleasure to work with you on. Yes. And I've always thought that your artwork was really, really accessible to people. Like, people are drawn, like, years ago. It's like decades ago now. Look at that stooge there. You and I worked together at a couple of clubs, and you would have art shows. And the art shows would do really well because people were really drawn to the type of work that you do. And so I wrote this long poem about a kid that's trying not to fart in class, and then he does, and all the kids start laughing. And the book is about how that's handled and the result of it. And so between you, myself, and my partner, Dennis Freitas, we came up with this idea of the Mythimals, that are a group of sort of mythical monsters meets animals. And the moral of all the books, I'm just working on the there is comfort in terror. I'm just working on the copy for the second one right now. And the idea between all of them is that even though we all have differences and maybe we don't understand the food that someone eats. Oh, Nerdcore in Hamilton, you can pick up Mythimals there. And if you're in Hamilton, go support Nerdcore. They're amazing people. And I think they're going to be at Frightmare in the Falls as well. But yeah, the idea is that we're all different, and we all grew up with people making fun of differences. Like, I remember once this guy had a slip of the tongue when I was in grade 4 out in the common area, and he asked his friend if he was going to the Gays game. And the guy started laughing because obviously he was like, "Are you going to the Jays game?" And the guy was like, "Oh, you said the Gays game." And then they both turned to me and said, "Hey, Andrew, are you going to the Gays game?" And I was like, but, you know, you grow up and you hope to influence future generations or support them by showing that as much as we're different, all of us are different and scared of things. You know, different things that aren't that different. You know, some of the things we're scared of could be very much the same. And a lot of it is that idea of having an accident, you know, tripping, falling, farting in public, you know, making a mistake in public speaking, or, you know, eating food in public that someone says stinks, or any of those types of things. You know, we're all so much the same, and we have so many of the same anxieties and manias. So let's make a joke about them and accept that everybody does poop, and accept that we're all a lot more alike than we think, and stop trying to be better than each other, and instead bond with each other.
And you know, that is the perfect way to wrap up the show, because it all comes down to the bare basics. We're all, you know, we're all equals. No one's better than the other person. And all of these things happen to each other. Guys, go get your copy today at blurb.ca. Again, we will include the official link, but, you know, it is the first of many great series to come. And I'm so excited to be, you know, working on that project with you. Andrew, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I really hope that I can, you know, do another show in the future about the Mythimals with you and Dennis. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in Frightmare in the Falls. Guys, make sure you get your tickets tonight because they are going so fast. Andrew, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of everything that you do. And I really look forward to all the wonderful things you're doing. Guys, we're going to post all the things that he's up to, even the poster of all the things that he's up to. I'm forgetting how to speak all of a sudden because I'm just so excited to have had you on the show. Andrew, be well. I will see you soon. Thank you for
amazing. So much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and commenting as well. That's amazing. And thank you, Liz, for creating this platform for people.
My absolute pleasure. Be well, and I'll see you soon, Andrew. I want to thank you guys so much all the time, every week. You're so amazing. You're such a great audience, and your questions tonight have been off the hook. You know, coming up on October 10th, there is a special announcement that I wanted to make this evening because Something Strange is coming to Toronto, and you'll You'll recall that I did cut off that wonderful advertisement that Mysterion made a little bit prematurely, but leading up to the show, actually, I'm going to be doing a special Planet Lizzdom series for Something Strange. So starting on September 29th, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we're actually going to be getting to know some of our guests for the show. So live every Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have Red Low, Flexi T, Swamp Hag, and Steffi K, amongst others. So make sure that you tune in for that, because I think it's very important to get to know your performers. And again, you can get your tickets to that show on Eventbrite, so make sure you don't miss out, because everything is selling out really fast and capacity is limited all over the place. Starting this week as well, Planet Lizzdom is now going to be syndicated out of Carney's show on Twitch, but now on Friday nights at 8 p.m. So make sure you're tuning in for that. This week we're going to be having Deborah Donahue again with her wonderful book, I Used to Live on Banning Street. So go check out Twitch. Carney Show is doing some amazing things. I'm so proud of Jeff with a G. So guys, thank you so much for joining me with Planet Lizzdom. If you're loving what I'm doing, please head on over to my Patreon and send me a little love, because you guys are the reason I am able to create such great content. With your support, Planet Lizzdom is only going to grow. I want to thank you all so much for making this show amazing. I look forward to the coming weeks. You guys are so wonderful, and always tune in, turn on, and take part, because you truly, truly never know who's going to land right here on Planet Lizzdom. Be well, everybody. Have a great weekend.